calling the meeting to order. So we are 5 minutes late. That's not too bad considering we're Zooming and everything. Let's see. So the next item on the agenda is approval of minutes. I haven't seen the September 9th minutes.
I keep resending things. I don't know where they go.
I don't know where to go either.
I have a copy.
Of September 9th?
Yes.
Oh.
It was about the meet and greet mostly. It's pretty non-controversial.
I do
have it.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. It's the February 8th ones that I don't have.
February 8th, really?
Yep.
Does other people have it?
Dennis, do you have the February 8th minutes?
You're on mute.
Yes, I do. Yeah.
Oh, you do? Okay. I don't, could you send them to me again? I'm sorry. I don't know where.
All right. I don't think I can do it right now. I'm afraid I'm going to lose everyone.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine. That's fine. So let's just approve the September 9th minutes. Do I have a motion to approve?
I so move.
Okay, a second.
Okay.
A second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
I think you have to roll call anything that's a vote.
Okay. Dennis,
Aye.
Carol,
Yes.
Janine,
Yes.
Sister Paula,
Okay.
and I say aye. Chair says aye. Okay, now, next on the agenda is the director's report.
All right, wonderful. And my apologies for getting it out just a day in advance. I'll review it just quickly for the sake of posterity since we're being recorded here. This is our last, my understanding is this is our last all virtual meeting. The selectmen are going to try at this, I think it's next week, they're meeting, they're gonna kind of test out the hybrid format where people can meet in person, but then also have the screen available for people who want to join remotely at their meeting, I think next week. And as long as that goes well, then they will progress over beginning April 1st to a hybrid meeting format, which is great.
I have a question. I have a question about that. Does that mean we are limited in the times we can meet to only when there's a Zoom available?
Yes, presumably. I mean, maybe Cindy can pop in on that one, but presumably, yes, we would still be limited by that.
Yes, if the board votes to allow hybrid meetings, then we do need to keep the Zoom window open, for one at a time. But they could also vote to let each board and committee decide what they want to do. I don't know what.
Okay, I think that we need to lobby to say that committees can choose to not hybrid.
I think all options are on the table right now.
So, could someone, and I think this has been explained to me before, but if we were meeting simply in person, Cindy's presence, I'm assuming, would not be required. Is that correct?
Correct.
So it's unclear to me as to why Cindy would necessarily have to be the one to organize and arrange the Zoom meeting. Could we not have hybrid meetings without Cindy?
Yeah, well, the problem is that there's only one Zoom link available at a time.
So the town only, but can't we can't post, the committee couldn't post its own Zoom links?
Where are we going to get the
Yes, I mean, in theory, yes, but hybrid meetings are a little more complicated where you need to film the room for anybody who's in person and also have the people in the room be able to see the Zoom participants and talk to them. I'm not looking forward to these.
No, it seems like it's gonna be,
Now that's recorded, Cindy. I don't know.
That's okay, it's well known.
it seems like as a long-term solution, it's really not a viable solution to the long-term problem of.
No,
of
and
Zoom. That
I
is,
believe that this would only be in effect until July, when the governor's order, which he extended until July from April 1st, would either need to be re-extended or rescinded.
and when the governor's order is rescinded, then the notion of a hybrid meeting or a Zoom equivalent meeting would no longer exist, and everything would have to be in person again.
I believe so, yes.
Okay. Okey
I
dokey.
have gone to meetings. I don't know about with Ayer, but I've gone to meetings at other places where somebody can't attend. And we do an impromptu Zoom. Actually, we did that for Carolyn before the COVID orders. Remember, you had to stay home because of shingles? And
Oh,
we
yeah, that's right.
set up, you know, an impromptu Zoom. So, I mean, it's not recorded at the town or anything. It was almost like we had all these people and then we had Carolyn as a virtual person on a laptop. It worked. It worked.
Right, and in that case, we were using my personal Zoom, and we were not on the town's Zoom account. And so I think that would be up to the select board and I guess to Cindy to decide if, you know, we could be using our own personal Zooms for that purpose or not. Or it has to be on the town.
Could each committee get its own, I mean, you know, these things are so ubiquitous. Could each committee have its own Zoom account, or could there be multiple accounts that different town committees can use, you know, make 5 for the town or whatever the number needs to be? Because I strongly suspect,
Table right now.
I strongly suspect that going forward, there is some subset of the population which will want to continue Zoom meetings indefinitely, either due to mobility concerns or travel issues or what have you, or ongoing concerns regarding health issues.
Mhm.
And I think that we, the town, or this committee in particular, should be prepared that after July 1st, we have a solution that does not involve Cindy having to be the only one who can arrange for, account for, and be present at every Zoom meeting for every committee.
Oh, I'm all for that.
Cindy.
I didn't get that.
Sorry, I was just teasing that we like Cindy, but sorry, carry on.
And Dennis,
No, that's, I mean, no, I understand the personal affection, but as a way to kind of move a town and move something with a $25 million annual budget forward in some reasonably efficient, professional manner, that does not seem like a long-term solution.
and like I said, the select board is taking that up at their next meeting on Tuesday. And that might be a good time to comment on that with them.
Okay.
So that's a week from today.
All right, so if there's nothing else for virtual meetings, I'll go on with the director's report.
Please go on.
We've spent almost all of the COVID food grant funds. To date, we have served 30 meals to 353 people. That is an average cost of $12.73 per meal. That is, you know, not the $3 suggested donation that we were doing for mock meals, obviously, but with the limitations of the kitchen and the desire to use some of those funds to put money back into the local economy by ordering from local restaurants. And the cost of food prices these days, I think that's not bad. I do have 6 additional meals planned for March and April to kind of close out this grant funding. And all of those involve using leftover foods from the original grant meal. So for each person that I serve for free, basically, it brings the per person cost down. So I think that will end up being great for the grant report at the end. I'm in conversation with at least one catering company to determine if there's additional ways to deliver regular meals at an affordable price that meet the limiting criteria of what we're available to do in the kitchen. That will be of particular interest to me if the nutrition coordinator does not get funded. I anticipate it will, but if it doesn't, I just want to make sure that we're teed up and ready to go for the rest of the year and then for next year, for next fiscal year as well. Let's see, in terms of the budget, I met with the town administrator to discuss the hopefully last two revisions that we have. There were, the budget was submitted at the end of December, but I obviously needed to make some revisions, and Town Hall was very supportive of that due to the fact that the kitchen renovation couldn't happen as was submitted to the capital planning. And then also our van driver Sam is taking an extended 2 weeks, not really extended, but 2-week vacation in April. And that brought to light the fact that we really don't have any backup drivers or per diem drivers available. And so that's an issue that needed to be addressed going forward with this next budget cycle. So any questions on that? No? Okay. And then there are approximately $6,000 in donations across several of the donation accounts. And I've been able to track back what the vast majority, the deposit dates for the vast majority of those are the last maybe 3 years. 2 of them have earmarks and 2 of them don't. I'm sorry, I'm looking for that piece of paper and I don't have it right here. But the main one in question, I want to make sure that there weren't any earmarks for, and were there any earmarks for the donation from Robert Hammond from his memorial donation? Is anyone aware of any?
Actually wasn't even aware that there was a memorial donation. I would have donated to it.
Okay.
I
Yeah,
wonder if there's a way to possibly put that in the newsletter that you're taking money in honor of somebody or something.
I'm not sure I think his estate made a donation.
Oh, the
Not that
state
we
did?
were- The estate, his estate.
Oh, estate. Oh, I see. I see.
Yeah, not a memorial that we were collecting money for. So I just
Oh,
want to
I
make
see.
sure, because if someone makes a donation to the senior center and it's earmarked for a particular purpose, I'm legally bound to spend it for that purpose. So there are 6 or 7 donations that total most of those funds. And I am aware of earmarks on 2 of them, but not on any of the rest of them. And I apologize, I could go grab it in just a minute. I thought I had that here. If there are no considerable earmarks on those, I'd like to put forth that right now it's set up as a program donation account, which is intended to be a revolving account for when I purchase tickets in advance for something using my operating budget, but then people pay for a trip, then you can't put citizen money back in a taxpayer account. It goes into a revolving account and then there's a reimbursement process. But then there's also the Friends of the Council on Aging, which we don't have a Friends, but it's a general donation account. And then there's also a donation account for a revolving account for the store and a revolving account for outreach purposes. And I would like to discuss as an ongoing thing, it doesn't need to be decided today, that we separate out what is a general donation account and then use the outreach one for social service emergencies. There is a precedent for that in other towns, and there needs to be a transparency for what those funds could be used for. But that's something I'd like maybe our board to advise on going forward so we can get that set up and use it.
Yeah, so if that account existed, how would you access the funds? Do you still have to go to the town or like, how do you access that bank or whatever where the funds exist?
So it depends. So for example, like the programming one, when I submit receipts to the accountant every other week, every receipt or every charge, every invoice, I have to authorize it to be paid, and then I tell her which account it should be billed to. So if it's something that's done, I presume you're talking about for the social services part.
Right.
But if it's something that is billable with an invoice, then I would submit the invoice and have it billed to that account. If it is something that, and that would be the preferred way. But I suppose if it was something that was relatively minor and I had petty cash to cover it, it could also be paid for with petty cash, and then the receipt is submitted and then petty cash is reimbursed. And then the other financial tool that I have is the town credit card, which is not intended to be used to go around something that could be invoiced, because again, invoicing is the preferred method, but I do have the credit card at my disposal as well. And then for each of those charges, then the receipt is invoiced to the correct account.
So expenditures and funds, right now and perhaps ongoing, need to go through the town in some manner in order for you to access the funds or be reimbursed for the funds.
Mm-hmm.
The existence of a Friends Committee, which would be a separate nonprofit organization to which donations could be made,
Mm-hmm.
would take the town out of that calculation, and
Would.
the Council on Aging could exist and access its own funds without regard to what the town or the town accountant thought.
Right. So most COA, most senior centers or councils on aging also have a Friends organization, and that is a long-term or short-term goal that does need to get going, especially as we're progressing with the new building plans, because there will be things that the town can't or won't pay for that we would want to be raising money for, and we cannot raise money. We are prohibited as a town board from doing that, but a Friends organization can do that.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, Dennis, if I need something and I can go to the Friends and ask for that money, and then that removes the town from the equation as well. Yeah.
And I would think that as a means of accepting donations, having that mechanism, I would find great solace in that mechanism. That is, if I wanted to donate part of the estate or some just general funds to the Council on Aging, I would want to make sure that the funds were going to the Council on Aging and were not caught up in the governmental entity that exists at Town Hall for moving the funds or accessing the funds or whatever. I would want to make it reasonably convenient and dedicated to a particular purpose.
Well, and that's what the earmark is for, really. So if someone wanted to donate to the Council on Aging, they, as it stands right now, they can donate to the town. In the memo line of their check, they write Council on Aging. It for sure goes to us. The accountant is very good at making sure that those kinds of donations go where they're supposed to be. And if there's an added layer, like if we want this to go to buy a new crock pot for the senior center, then you write that there, and then I'm legally obligated to spend it on a crock pot, whether I need a crock pot or not. But hopefully they've asked first what we need, or they don't put something that specific on it. But you're right, going through, if there was a Friends organization, they could fundraise for whatever they would like to. They can manage their own earmarking system, and then they can give back to the senior center in any way that they would like to.
So for our next meeting, would you like to write down, Katie, suggestions as to what you feel we would like to do with the donations? I mean, I hate to see them sitting there at a time of high inflation, when, every year it's worth less than the year before. So, I mean, if you have some things that you feel are real needs, you know, like, and anybody else, if anybody else has suggestions as to how we might want to spend those funds, please let Katie know.
Definitely, yeah. And then let's see, the next public budget forum is March 16th. So anyone who would like to attend is certainly welcome to attend. I presume at that point they will be talking about each departmental budget in more detail and give people the opportunity to weigh in on that. Let's see. For program statistics for February, we had 77 seniors in the building in February for a total of 239 sign-ins. The total person programming hours were 258. I'm going to change that statistic because I think it's a little bit misleading. It is person people versus how many hours of straight programming we had, which was closer to, I want to say 115 or something like that. And those statistics do not count the approximately 25 Meals on Wheels clients and 48 van riders. So that would be in addition to that. We just collect those in different systems with different criteria.
I don't recall last month's numbers. Is this an increase?
It's comparable. It's a shorter month, and we had 2 snow days and a holiday as well. So it might be slightly lower due to those things, but I'd like to, once we have a couple of months to really look at, I'll probably put that together graphically so that we can see kind of where we're tracking with participation and programming, because my goal is to add additional programming each month and hopefully to attract additional people each month. Of course, when you compare, like January, we had 2 delivery meals. And so we had participants that participate in delivery, but nothing else. In February, we had 2 weeks of tax clients. We have some senior center users that participate in tax preparation and nothing else. So until we really have more than a year's worth of data, it will be hard to really understand where we're going, but we can certainly look at it with those caveats in mind to see if we're growing in general.
Yeah.
Let's see, we added exercise classes, joined One Day University, and started a supper club, and have 2 bus trips planned, van bus trips to the American Heritage Museum and Butterfly Place for March. I will save my building committee update until we get to that place in the agenda. And then, as I mentioned, Sam is going to be on vacation in April, and Robert is looking into using something called an intermunicipal agreement, IMA, to bring on one of the Shirley per diem drivers quickly and easily without going through the job posting and hiring process and everything, to cover that 2-week period of time. And then after that, seeing what the options are. Before I end my report, I think everyone got the 2 budget forms when I sent out. Does anybody have any questions on that? That was attached to the same email as my director's report. And I think everybody's seen some version of that.
So in the, in terms of going forward, when I guess the Finance Committee and perhaps the Board of Selectmen had decided to forego the renovations necessary for the kitchen to expand the meal program.
That is official.
Yeah, so what assurances were made regarding an upgrade to the meals? Has that been included in the budget for the following year?
Yes. So the initial meals program budget was that I submitted in December. Let me find that actual number right here. Is $10,000 for the meals program. Based on the idea that we would have a renovated kitchen and therefore be able to buy individual food staples and, assemble and prepare them into cost-effective meals. But once that renovation was no longer possible, and still keeping with my desire to provide a strong meal program here as a way to bring in seniors, I went through, and that was sheet 2 of the budget that I sent out. So that actually makes that number much larger. That's actually $35,850 for funding 5 meals a week. So the finance committee and the town may look at that and say, great.
You don't have a read on their initial reaction to that yet or not, or?
Everything I'm hearing from the town administrator is that they are very supportive and think that it's a good thing to have a good meals program here. And when they were looking at the cost of renovating the kitchen, they were going to spend more than that anyway, even in the earliest estimates, and they were very supportive of the earlier cost structure for the renovation. So I'm getting the sense that that shouldn't be a big deal. I did spec out for them the cost for 5 meals, 4 meals, and 3 meals a week, because just no one wants to eat those mock meals. They just don't come for them.
And then on the nutrition coordinator, is there any sense of, I'm guessing that was, I mean, they are favorably disposed to support that.
Mhm.
Is there any sense of when the hiring process could begin or how that would work?
So
Is there a job description, et cetera? What's that?
I believe so. The funds become available July 1st. So I think I can start the process before July 1st, but they couldn't actually start before July 1st when those funds became available. There is an exception when something is, I think, a capital request and the funding is already in place. You can start doing it as soon as the town meeting, the spring town meeting is over. But I think for something like hiring, and Cindy, correct me if I am wrong on that, the process could start for hiring, but they couldn't, their actual day 1 of employment can't be before July 1st.
And would the town's personnel board, I mean, going back almost 15 years, I was on the personnel board for some period of time. Does the town's personnel board need to review the job description and the salary structure to make sure it's in keeping with the, is that all kind of, you know?
So this would be my first hiring with Ayer, so I can only speak to the general process. And generally, the job description is already in place and has already been, I think that would be a union position as well, like the other ones are. So that's already been negotiated and agreed upon, as long as that collective bargaining agreement is still in place. And then the way that typically works is that you post the job opening and it has to be open for at least 2 weeks. And then whoever is on the hiring committee meets and does the interviews, and then they make a recommendation, and then that goes to the select board for approval. So they have to meet, and then it has to get on, their recommendation or the time allotment has to be submitted in time for the next select board meetings, whenever their agenda deadline is. And then you loop back around. So it can take a fair amount of time, given all of those different steps along the way. And then they need to be approved at a selectmen's meeting and all of those things. So there's a lot of steps to it.
Yeah, so have you had conversations with, I guess, Kevin, who would be the one head of human resources or head of personnel department? And that is what I'd simply like it to be the case, you know, that if the funding is approved as soon after July 1, the person is sitting in their seat and performing their job function, as opposed to we get it approved July 1 and then that person is sitting in their seat sometime in October.
Right. So the budget would be approved at the April town meeting. And so I would have between April and July 1 to really move that process forward.
Okay. All right.
I have a quick question on the mock meals or mock. First of all, I forget how to say it. Mock. Are they still frozen?
So if you're, no, it's a combination. So if you're eating the hot mock meal that I'm serving 3 days a week currently at the senior center, those come in warm. And so they go into our oven and they are warm held until lunchtime, usually about a half an hour. And then if you're getting a Meals on Wheels delivery, for example, that's supposed to span for multiple days, you'll get a hot meal, you'll get a cold meal, which is something like a ham salad or something like that. And then anything beyond, if you're getting 3 or more meals, those meals will be frozen.
Okay, thanks.
Hey, anything else from the director's report? No. Good. Okay, so how about an update from the building committee?
Katie, did you want to speak to the building committee? I thought you mentioned it.
I can, but I don't want to take away from either one of you guys doing that.
No, I did have a conversation with Carolyn on Friday.
And I talked to Sister Paula, just to
Yeah.
try to bring everyone in the loop.
So, obviously this is a big conversation. What I'd like, I guess, first to understand that the prospective site selection has been pushed back so that it will be presented in October as opposed to in April. So we're now shooting at April. I'm sorry, October. That the West Main Street site, which has been much discussed, remains a contentious topic regarding the pollution and the potential environmental hazards. That is now, it was approved that a land site inspector would be hired by the town for about $3,000, I think, to provide some record review and an overview of what possible cleanup and potential costs down the line might look like. And Dan from DPW was interacting with that person. And hopefully that report will be available come mid-April or early April. Other sites are being looked at, including one on Scully Road. I
think we're not supposed to say the places, aren't we, Katie?
No,
if they're
yeah,
not-
so I carefully avoided saying the place, but it's my understanding that the street or the general location, because can be.
Oh, you can say the street, but not a street number?
No, not a site number.
Okay,
I
I didn't want us to get in trouble.
No, I understand. I had an informal conversation with Lori Nearing, who is, obviously very visible in this process, and she immediately raised some concerns regarding potential environmental hazards anywhere along Scully Road, given its proximity to the, I guess there's some environmental hazards located just off of Scully Road. And she is providing me some additional information that she's collected over the years, hopefully. So we'll be able to take a look at that. But I think that coming out of the meeting, one of the things that Robert pointed out, and I think the committee was generally understood, is that the town will do due diligence on any site to make sure that the environmental contamination is either non-existent or whatever is there is manageable, or, however the case may be. And there is likely to be concerns on any number of possible sites regarding either environmental contamination or wetlands protection. And that the town will have to kind of make some judgments. That is, there is no perfect, it is unlikely that you're going to find a 1.5 to 2 acre lot with a willing landowner somewhere reasonable proximity to downtown with adequate parking that does not have some possible trade-offs involved. And And so the search continues and more to come. Janine continues to advocate for, or continues would like us to see, what Devon's has to offer, and Robert has reached out to Mass Development. It seems like the real estate person at Mass Development is on vacation, or the position is vacant, or there may be some sick leave involved there, but in any case, that person is currently inaccessible, but Robert continues to reach out to see if some kind of thing with Mass Development could be arranged. The town is looking at doing the RFP, which Janine had suggested, kind of putting a broad-based word out there that we're looking for land with these specifications, and is any landowner interested in contacting the town regarding this matter. And hopefully that will broaden the search a little bit. And any other things that you'd like to add, Janine? I know that we talked quite
I do have a couple. I know that when we're sitting in these board meetings and they discuss West Main Street in detail, we can't go into all that detail, but there's two public things that if the board was interested in pursuing, they could. I can put it in the minutes, and I can also email the links. And one is the town meeting, October 26, 2020. If you weren't there, or even if you were, Mr. Pontbriand said he actually went back and watched the video again because it's been so long. I think it really clarifies what we're up against if we keep pursuing West Main Street. So that would be one suggestion to the board, to go back, and it's Article 4. So when you get to the video, you don't have to watch the whole town meeting. You can jump, do a little fast forwarding, jump to Article 4, and it does go on for a while. I think around 45 minutes, and then it was tabled after that. But that is very informative on different players and stakeholders and what their opinion is. And I believe Katie found the link for us, so that was a valuable find. And I guess it's also good to know that going forward, if there's any video you want, it can be located. So that's very helpful. And the other one is a public access short show that was made by a young woman on the people who owned the video store. And it's about 4 minutes long. And she talks about the whole experience that they had of getting very sick and getting thrown out of that building. So there are people in town who know that family, and it's going to be tough to ever surmount that. So I just recommend, for our own background on that site, that people could do a little homework and watch those two videos. I'll put it in the minutes, and I'll also email those links.
Yeah, thanks for sending that along earlier. I did in fact watch the video of the town meeting, the entire discussion around the article about the senior center. I did find it very instructive. It was extremely helpful. I think it, and I think I said this at the building committee meeting. I think it's going to be a very difficult public relations, even assuming you can win the technical environmental argument. It's becoming, it seems to me that winning the public relations argument is becoming, more and more difficult, if not impossible, given the history there. And I mean, I'm a little surprised. Well, so hopefully the land site inspector will come back with some sort of report, but and I think Ken Diskin mentioned this at the building committee, that report I don't think will be dispositive as to what is or isn't there. It will simply kind of point out, yeah, there's something there. Exactly what and what it would cost to clean up is still undetermined, and we're going to have to do further engineering and investigation and spend additional funds to get a more precise cost estimate. And what the health effects going long term will still need to be looked at in greater scientific detail.
I would like to just make a point on the health effects. To me, that's one of the biggest concerns, is like the health, not only of the seniors who come in for a short time, but our staff. going forward. And that is one of my biggest concerns.
Yeah, so
Well, assume that we wouldn't even go forward unless it was cleaned up. And I know it has been cleaned up to a, some extent. And, but what I'm concerned about is, that, as Dennis just pointed out, that the report that we're looking to get is not detailed enough to investigate and, estimate how much it's going to cost to completely clean it up.
So, it'll be interesting to see. That's not the impression that I got from Dan. Not that report would, of the DPW, not that report would be the be all end all with a construction estimate type specificity. But the impression I got from that was that report would allow us to hopefully put this project, would give us the information we needed to either make it on or off the table for moving forward with. So to me, in order to come to that level of conclusion, there would have to be some level of understanding what the health impact of this chemical is, what a general cost to remediate would be. Is this, I don't know, a $50,000 or a $5 million remediation, and then what would be required going forward in terms of ongoing monitoring. And I think that's one piece of that too, is, again, I'm going to be working in that building, hopefully. So and everybody wants the building to be safe. I don't think anybody is suggesting we would build a senior center where it's not safe. It needs to be safe. But that is one piece that needs to be, that the building committee would be considering then, is what is the ongoing cost to monitor a site that has an environmental concern.
Well, one of my concerns too is how long this is all going to stall the process. And it may be that there's another site that does not have to piggyback this huge environmental cleanup on. And the environmental cleanup, I'm all for it happening, but just not as a piggyback onto our project.
I was gonna say, I think the biggest issue with this is gonna be PR, because everybody that I talk to in town, they'll say, oh yeah, that's the toxic place. That's the feeling that people have. Well, I mean, with good reason. But I think getting the town meeting to vote for that particular site is gonna take an awful lot
yeah, I
of
agree.
information.
Well, I think that, no matter what the building committee decides, it will be up to all of us to do the kind of lobbying that's, required to make it move forward. We're all going to have to put some skin in the game.
Well, and that's one thing that there were a lot of clear action steps after this building committee meeting. And the one that fell on the COA is to begin to develop our strategy for moving forward. Eventually a site will be chosen, and then the public relations will fall not solely on the COA, because we will have the availability of the community development office and the architect abacus that is working on the project, but we really will be the leaders of that process. So the COA needs to, and maybe we can put that as a working group item that would meet in between the meetings. We could, or add another meeting in with specifically that purpose, but we would need to have a strategy identifying who the stakeholders are in this process, who we want to get on board, which community groups do we want to reach out to make sure that outside of our standard senior center users, so that we're reaching as many Ayer residents as possible. How do we speak to, how, when, and what frequency do we speak to our usual senior center users? What will our main talking points be? So, we have a great and diverse board, and we all come from different backgrounds and have different perspectives. But one thing I have learned, having been part of two separate efforts to build or expand a senior center, is that it's really important to have an agreed upon set of talking points. 4 or 5. It doesn't need to be complex, but when Janine is going out talking and Carolyn's going out talking and I'm talking to people, whether it's casually in the grocery store or for a more formal presentation, we all need to be presenting the same information in the same way without a lot of deviations, because those things are what fuel the rumor mill and fuel misinformation. So all of those points need to be worked out. So perhaps we could add that to our next meeting agenda.
Yeah, creating a fact sheet might be a start on that, so that we also have the statistics correct and one person isn't saying this number and somebody else is saying another. That's great. Great, Katie.
So as part of that, I went back and I reviewed the abacus from the public meeting that was held in October of 2020 and their report on that public meeting and its conclusions about why a new senior center was needed and what the interest within the town was for such a thing, et cetera. So I would encourage everyone to read that in some detail, because Abacus touches on a lot of the points about why do we need a new senior center, what kinds of things would a new senior center, what are the be able to provide, what are the inadequacies of the current senior center, et cetera. So a lot of that initial legwork has been done. And I think that we can kind of use that as a foundational document.
What page is that? So I can put it in the minutes. Do you have it in front of you? Because
What's
I know
that?
I was flipping through it the other day and I was trying to find that place. I'd like to put in the minutes what page that appears on in the feasibility report, if you have it in front of you.
I mean, it's the entire report, but the pages 16 through 18, I think, has particular reference to percentage of respondents who wanted to engage in such and such an activity. And I think that for next meeting, we should kind of try to, that is, even given that we do not have a particular site, the uses of a new senior center will be, I think, clear. And we can come up with the talking points regardless of the site. The specifics regarding, so that's kind of like the proactive approach. The specifics regarding the specific cost or specific environmental hazards that will need to be overcome or accessibility issues regarding placement, those will have to wait until the new site is chosen and we can kind of pin down the numbers a little bit. But I think a substantial amount of the work will be able to be done prior to the specific site being found.
I agree that has a lot of information in it, particularly those pages with the results from the meeting at the high school. But Katie also mentioned that she had some information from, say census data. She could have usage data, she could have population data. It would all be helpful to realize how many people might be served.
Right, and there's no need to recreate. It's just that feasibility study is, first of all, not terribly accessible. I mean, we could certainly upload that and put it on the website, but it's not something that the average citizen is going to take any time to look through. So we need to have kind of our one pager or our elevator speech, well formulated and ready to go. That's sort of more what I was getting at.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I mean, distilling that down to its essence, I think, just some of the casual conversations I've had around town, I think that the mission of the senior center has, to some extent, been considered that what the senior center does is provide meals and provide transportation. And I think that the mission that the mission of the center needs to be expanded to include a broader range of individuals in the community who may want to use it for activities or physical exercise or presentations or socialization, and kind of expand the number of people who are likely to use it, because and I think it's just a kind of artifact of where it's been located, that the senior center is somewhat seen as a place where people go to get lunch and they can get rides to, doctor's appointments, the grocery store, et cetera. but that doesn't need to be the case.
Well, it's also been an
That
issue
doesn't need to be
because it's,
solely the case. I don't mean to diminish those activities. Those will be enhanced and improved going forward with a new center. But the new center would be much more than that.
well, I think there's a couple of misconceptions here. There have been other activities all along, but I think that you're right in that the public doesn't know or they don't perceive that there's been social outreach and assistance and really valuable help to people. So we need to kind of put that forward, that there's always been and there's going to be more. But there's also been a problem that it's right next to the affordable housing. And I've heard this over the last few years, that there's some misconceptions that the senior center is only for the people who live in that building. And that is definitely an artifact of where it's located. And so there's a few misconceptions to really to work on as we go forward. And I think Katie's providing numbers will really help and increasing our numbers. It's kind of a catch-22. We have a non-prime space with problems, but we want to increase our numbers so that we can justify spending all this money and having a new senior center. So some of it has to be projected because there are such limits on the space. You can't have dinner for 50 or 100 people right now. And so that's working against us. But you can take numbers that we had, try to improve them, which is Katie's really doing a great job on. And then we can also try to project how many people might come if there was more room and more services.
Right. Okay. Next agenda item are there any takeaways from the MCOA meeting that you would like to share?
I'm sorry, what was that?
There was that MCOA meeting last month, and I know some of you were going. Janine, did you go?
I couldn't sign in. I didn't realize you couldn't sign in day of. And
Oh.
it told me that the thing was closed. It was just a technical problem. I couldn't sign in.
Okay. Okay. Or Katie, was there anything that you need to bring back from that meeting?
That was a board and committees training meeting. I didn't attend that. That wasn't for me.
Okay. 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 Great.
So nobody got to go?
I guess nobody went.
Okay.
So Janine had posed all of these questions about the Ayer website and whether the COA portion was workable.
So I can provide an update on that. Cindy and I met yesterday and we went through and further refined what had been done in there. So the structure of the website is the template that all of the cities use. So I can't make substantive changes to the structure. But so boards and committees need to remain separate from departments. But what we did is we renamed under the departments drop down at the beginning, we renamed it Council on Aging / Senior Center. And then on the boards and committees side, it says Council on Aging Board of Directors. So there's some visual distinction there. So it doesn't say Council on Aging on both of those drop down menus. And then when you're in the COA Board of Directors portion, it has the list of each of the board members in a table and when their terms are, when the terms expire. And we added a link on Carolyn's name to send her an email directly for contact information. The rest of the contact information still remains the senior center. But if someone was wanting to reach out to a COA board member, they can click on Carolyn's name. Then on the left-hand side, where the links are, the persistent links, the menu bar on the left, there's agendas and meetings. And then the second link on the left now says Senior Center website. So you can be on the COA board's page and link on over to the Senior Center. Then on the other side, when you are using the drop-down menu for departments and you go to the Council on Aging / Senior Center, then you get all of the content that I have put up there and am continuing to add. And then again, one of the left-hand menu items is Council on Aging Board of Directors, and you click that and it links you back over to your page. So hopefully that will make it less confusing.
Okay, great. Great.
Janine, since these were your questions, does that, I think that answers all of them aside from the mission statement. Did I miss any of them?
I'm just looking. I think it's really coming along. I think it's bound to be a process as we go forward. We may want to tweak it, as people use it or whatever, but I feel like things are much more accessible. I can find the agendas now. I can find the newsletters. I took a quick look at it yesterday and I saw our names in there. So that's really helpful. I think it's great. Part of it is, as we go forward, we are all supposed to be advocates. That was, mentioned 3 years ago. And so people need to know who we are. And we had to take it out of the annual report, I believe, in the end, didn't we, Katie? Because of space, we took our names out.
Trying to remember. I think we stayed in there, didn't they?
I think we mentioned that the COA board was full strength now, which it had not been for quite a while. But I think the listing of our names took up over 2 lines and every line was valuable. So Katie has put it into the website, our names, and she's put a link to Carolyn. So that's great that we now have a point person. And I believe you're going to put it in the newsletter too, our names?
Yes, that is on my list. For the April newsletter.
Katie, as a general, and maybe Sister Paula could chime in, around the center do people say things like, I was on the website and I found, or I was looking for such and such a piece of information, I couldn't find it on the website? Is that kind of, it doesn't happen?
No, the only time I'm really referencing the website, our newsletter is really the most valuable place for people to go for what's going on in the senior center. The only time I even really reference the town website is if I have an adult child call me and they want to know what's going on so that they can encourage their parent to come in. Then I say, I could add you to our email list. And they're like, no, I get enough junk mail as it is. A lot of people say yes to that. They're saying, oh yeah, add me to the list. But if they say they get too much junk mail or whatever as it is, I'll say, well, just so you know, the current newsletter is always available on the town website. If you go to the departments and you drop down to Senior Center, it will be right there on the left. You can click on our current newsletter. So that's about the only time it gets referenced, because the town website is actually quite nice and built out very well. But it's not like you don't visit there for new content every day. It's not that kind of a website. So it doesn't get as much traffic as just coming into the center or reading the newsletter.
I also think that there's a transition as far as our age group goes. I was at another senior center and a woman my age in her 60s said, we're junior seniors. So we're kind of in the computer world. The junior seniors are using, things like websites and online resources much more than older seniors. Now, that's not to say completely across the board. I had a friend who was 89 and she was on email and Facebook and, she was very savvy. But it's just kind of like what we were exposed to. I was exposed. I had no choice in the matter. I was in the library world and we started out with, catalog cards and electric typewriters. And as the world changed, we had to change with it. So I learned a lot of my computer knowledge at work. And so I think that as we go on, there are going to be more junior seniors who are more computer savvy and saying, I wonder who the board members are, and they may look it up. And meanwhile, I think Katie is really using the newsletter as the face of the senior center, and it's great.
So Janine, when do I go from a junior senior to a senior senior?
I don't think there's an exact line of demarcation.
There isn't.
I think part of it has to do with programs too. When I was talking to this woman, her name was Catherine, actually, so I'll give her a name, at a different senior center. So not a Catherine you might know at this senior center. We were talking about how well that particular senior center did on all the different programs for all the different age groups. There are things that we might be interested in, like the walking club and the weight room, that somebody older might be much more into the chair exercise and the book club. And what's great is to really span all those decades of the more active seniors and then the less active. And then I observed one of the chair exercise classes that they had with a live instructor. And I tell you, it was just a joy, because they also played kind of games with it. One of those child games where you pass the ball and then somebody says stop and whoever has it is out. And people there was real socialization for people. Maybe that was the most socialization they had all week. We had people in their early 90s at that. So anyway, no real line of demarcation, but it's good to keep in mind going forward that you do want to address all the different age group needs. So Katie went away, but she's coming back.
Apparently.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
she did go.
so I'm so pleased, and Sister Paula, you can tell her this when she gets back. Well, oh wait, I'm really pleased that she has worked on that on the website, and that's great. So I was looking at the mission statement from the annual report, and it seems too long for a mission statement. Usually I think of a mission statement as like 3 lines.
Well, Katie had told me, but when she comes back, maybe she can explain, that she wanted to expand it for the annual report to address certain things that they did.
Yeah.
But there was the original mission statement that I got from Sister Paula, and then I edited it. And I thought we were going to go forward working on the edited version. Not to say it's final yet, but that it wasn't as long. And we can edit it even more if we want.
Yeah, and so what I have put in the agenda is not necessarily the mission statement. Then it's what was in the annual report. So do we want to propose a? Katie, I was saying that, you know, this, I called it the mission statement, but it's not really the mission statement from the annual report. So the question is, do we want to then, you know, adopt a mission statement that is part of this, or something that, or the statement that Janine came up with? Why don't we just hold off on this for this month and think
Sister
about
Paula has
what-
something to add to it.
Okay, yeah,
I looked at the mission statement that was published here on the, it's here, you know, under,
On the agenda.
yeah, under old business. And I was a little confused because I thought a mission statement was who you were, not how you did it. And I think the second part of the printed copy that's here needs to be rearranged or just removed. So I spent quite a few pieces of paper rewriting what I thought would be a good mission statement. And I just like to submit it, and you can change it, you can burn it, you can do whatever you want with it. I took
okay,
the first part of the mission statement that's already here, The Ayer Council on Aging is a service department for members of our community 60 years old and older. Our goal at the COA is to provide comprehensive information and quality services in a dignified, healthful, safe, and respectful environment for seniors, their families, and the caregivers as they make life choices concerning their personal fulfillment. And I added one more, and I changed my mind on the last sentence. That's all I have. You want to add something to it, if that's too simple or whatever.
Okay, could, let's see, so I was trying to get this, but you know, I am not good at transcribing what's been said. Anyway.
I think it would be good if we could get a copy of that somehow.
Yeah,
Scan it in maybe and send it to us, and I can even put it in the minutes if you want. But I didn't get every word either. I was
Yeah.
trying.
okay, yeah,
I will, excuse me, I just noticed at the bottom, I crossed something out and then I said, oh no, that's the last sentence that I thought I didn't have. So I would add, this is done through a variety of activities, okay? That center on active living, which is what we talked about a long time ago. This is going to be a place for active living. Okay, so that's it, but I'll get a copy and it'll be
Yeah.
sent in.
okay, so then, Katie, you'll scan it in and send it to us.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so next month, we'll talk about adopting it officially, or we can, you know, in the interim, we can look at revisions that we might want to make to it.
Yeah, right, definitely.
As part of that, actually, this, I've got, you know, when I go on the town email, I know that Katie's been very good about attaching the director's report and the budget attachments. And I think Carolyn with the agenda items. Am I correct in saying that the Dropbox feature has kind of fallen into disuse? Is that no longer seen as a viable way to kind of communicate or not, or?
I do sort of both. I attach minutes, or not minutes, since Janine's the one that does the minutes. I attach the agenda items, and I also put them in the minutes in the Dropbox as well. So I guess we're doing a combination.
Yeah,
I've had trouble with the Dropbox. I've had trouble putting things in and taking things out, so I haven't really utilized
Yeah,
that.
I've looked at that, and I'm not quite sure how to modify it to make it easier. Maybe we should use another tool. There's Google Docs. We might be able to put things in Google Docs because those are shareable.
No, yeah, I mean, I was kind of like advocating strongly for the Dropbox, but it's not clear to me that that's been seen as a kind of effective way of transmitting information. I don't know. I mean, it's a conundrum. I mean, yeah, it's a conundrum. I mean, it's awfully convenient to just open up the attachments. But having a repository that everybody can access so that it's always kind of in a single place has some utility. Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
Of course,
I'm
now.
open. I mean, I feel like I'm getting the information, you know, when Janine sends them or when Katie sends them, you know, I'm always getting them. But yeah, I mean, so I think that, you know, maybe Cindy, you know, looking long-term, I don't know how other departments do it with the Dropbox feature and whether or not that has some utility for them that we're unable or whatever, but.
And I'm happy to do both, send it via email and put my documents in the Dropbox as long as we're getting permission set up so everyone feels like they can use it.
Yeah, I mean, and it's, I mean, it may be I mean, I mean, I guess what I would say is that it's good, I think, for the town to have quote unquote the definitive version. And when you're doing attachments and people are editing and then the attachment goes back and forth a couple of times and then somebody changes it and then you email it back to them to get their last edits and you're never quite sure what the final version is. And then, and that was my idea behind Dropbox would contain the final version. But again, I understand that it's just a difficult thing. It's a difficult problem to solve.
Yeah. Well, I will work with Cindy on either the Dropbox or an alternative. See what other boards are doing. But I promise I will work with Cindy to do that. So is there any new business? Janine?
I was just looking at the COA Board of Directors and my term is up 3/22/22. So I'm wondering how I might continue on the board.
I think that won't be a problem. That generally what happens is the Board of Selectmen, Carly is sort of in charge of who's on boards, and she will ask you if you want to remain on the board, and we hope you will say yes. And I think my term is up then too, right?
Well, I can read them out. I just pulled up the page. This is one of the little things I learned from Zooming my last year on the job when they threw us out of our offices, is you can split your screen and you can have one half with something and one half with something else. It's so useful. Anyway, so it says Carolyn McCreary, Chair, and it has a link to click on for you, and term expiration 6/30/22. I'm next as clerk, 3/22/22. Carol Tillis is 6/30/2024. And Dennis is 6/30/22. So matches, Carolyn. You expire at the same time. And Sister Paula is 6/30/24 and she matches Carol. So how this happened, I don't know.
Yeah. And you're in March?
Yeah, March 22nd, 22. I guess what it is it's possible we may have taken the slot left by somebody else.
Yeah.
Because I came on in January of 2019. So if it was 3 years from that date, it should have been up in January. So I have a feeling if there's these certain slots that we got put into and they have different expiration dates.
Okay, and
Dennis, how long are the terms?
I think 3 years.
3?
3, yeah. So Dennis's term is up in, so Dennis, Janine, and me are all up in 2020 this year. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
And you and Dennis on June 30th. And then Carol and Sister Paula are in June 30th of 24, which that makes sense because that's the end of the fiscal year. So that at least kind of jives with the Christmas.
I know your exact date is weird, but I would like to say, since we're talking about this, that I will not renew my membership on the board. And it has nothing to do with you. I am so involved in some other projects in my life that I have not been giving the time and energy to this board that it deserves. And so I want you all to think about who you would like on the board starting in July, who you would like for a replacement for me. I will continue to be supportive. I think that one of the roles that I would like is this group that we were talking about that will be advocating for the senior center. I joined the board at a time of crisis because I was asked to help with the crisis. And I feel like, I helped get through that. And now we have a really good, solid foundation. And so I'm not needed and my energies, and like I said, I'm putting my energies elsewhere. But I would like to, in the future, take on part of the role of advocacy for the senior center, especially for the building. And since I know a lot of people in town, I can do a lot of lobbying.
So have you
think about-
communicated that to Robert or the Board of Selectmen at all, or not, or
No,
not officially yet? Okay.
no. I just I needed.
No, I do. I appreciate you. I mean, I would argue with the "you're not needed," but
Definitely.
yeah. So no, but I'm sure we'll be seeing you, but you're certainly going to be missed.
And one thing to
Absolutely. We're definitely going to miss you, Carolyn, but it's great
Yeah.
that you still want to work up with the project in other capacities like advocacy.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's one advantage to, for example, continuing on with a hybrid meeting format, is that if you have people who are sort of on the periphery, it's so much easier for Carolyn to dial into a meeting one day rather than block her whole schedule to come on over and attend. So we hope that you'll stay involved and everything, and like you said, be an advocate for the building as we move forward. But we will definitely miss you and your leadership. So thank you for your service to the board.
As somewhat part of that, I would like to see more of the public at these COA meetings, the monthly meetings. It's, I don't think I've seen anybody other than the five of us at any meeting in 4 months. And, it'd be great to have members of the public or people who use the senior center to hear directly from them what their concerns are or what their desires are or complaints or, what have you. Or, and I don't know whether, is this typical of other boards and committees in town, that there's virtually no members of the public other than the board members?
I don't know.
Do you know, Cindy, or?
I mean, I think that the plan, well, just going board by board, the planning board generally has some other interests. The ZBA from time to time, as important things come up to different people in town. The Board of Selectmen, there was always somebody there. But, I mean, we're really a very specialized board that, doesn't reach
Yeah, I know.
the whole.
Yeah, I just feel like sometimes I'm talking in an echo chamber, and I'm just kind of
Right.
listening to myself and here, it's just, but the broader concerns or just kind of like the general feedback, I don't feel like I get a lot. So
I
Right.
wonder if we could specifically invite people.
Yeah.
Right on over there.
Oh, I have to say, I want to talk.
I just go for it. Just
Yeah.
talk and then they'll hear you.
Can I say something here, please?
Please.
In all the time that I was chairperson of the board, way back, even before Janine's time, we always had the top issue or top item on our agenda was always public input, which meant people could come to the meetings. I think we did closed meeting maybe once or twice because of personal reasons, okay? But the meetings were always open, and I think in my memory is correct, we only had 2 times when we had public input in all those years for the meetings. unless it was, I know Bob came a couple of times, we had something from the town came and talked to us. But public coming in and offering questions about situations they were involved in, and could they look to us for help? So it's been a history that this public input was not part of, and you're right, we need to improve that, Dennis. We definitely need to get more public involved. Yes.
One suggestion I have, certainly adding public input into our standard template for the agenda certainly sends the message that we're open to public input. Another option would be when I add the mission statement and the date of the next COA meeting to, I'm going to give the COA board just a little block at the someplace in the newsletter. If we know by, let's say, the second Friday of the month, what one of the main topics that we'll be discussing is, and you get it to me before I get the newsletter published, I'd be happy to say, join us on April 5th or whatever to discuss whatever the topic is. And you might be able to get a few people in that way.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's continuing to use your newsletter kind of as our most visible public face, and really another aspect of it. That's great.
Yeah, that's great. So I am writing on my calendar that this month, on March 18th, I will have a special topic of COA meeting to Katie. And I mean, right now, I'm thinking of the special topic as advocacy for the new building.
Yep.
If you have a better or another special topic, let me know.
That's the elephant in the room.
What's that?
That's the elephant in the room.
Yeah, exactly.
That sounds like a great plan.
Okay, so I want you to be thinking of who you want on the board, because I think the best way to get a board member is to ask somebody directly. That's how I got on the board. That's how Dennis got on the board. Maybe Carol, did you get on the board that way? Yeah.
Me too. Yeah.
Okay, so think about who else you want on the board, and there will be a slot available starting July 1st.
And who's going to be the new chair?
Yeah. Okay, anything else we want to talk about today?
Well, I'd like to talk about pinning down a really solid monthly time and date for our meeting. I had 2 meetings last week that were changed, and I don't work 9 to 5. I'm not sort of available all the time, and it led to confusion and conflict. And I also think, as far as Dennis mentioned this once, as far as the public thinking they might want to attend, they might sort of want to know if we're going to go to the second Tuesday of the month at a certain time, then they'll just maybe know that. And so I would just like to advocate for a hard and fast, firm date and time that it would almost have to be a pandemic to interfere.
I totally support that. And the reason it was confusing, well, I mean, and as we've going back and forth between in-person and all Zoom, that has really messed us up for the timing. And so, and also then there's, we decided to change it because the building committee meetings, we wanted to meet after the building committee meetings and whatever. I'm totally supportive of that. And at the same time, we need to be flexible so that we can handle, changes in building committee meeting times, and whether, we have to be on Zoom or not. Or so I guess, I mean, I would love, I mean, it's so much easier for all of us if there's a set time.
So, yeah, so as a general proposition, I kind of saw, you know, I hear what Janine is saying. And that being said, next month, April, the building committee is the day after the COA board meeting, which is regularly scheduled. We've got the
But we
building
were
committee
talking
scheduled.
about, some of us were talking about changing the regular day for the senior center, I mean, for the COA, instead of the first Tuesday to the second Tuesday. That would accommodate the building committee, wouldn't it, Dennis? I don't have the calendar. in
Yes,
front of me.
yeah, no, that's fine with me.
So if that's gonna keep happening, maybe we should just go with the second Tuesday and then pick a time.
Well, and picking the time is dependent on whether it's Zoom or not. I mean, you know, we've been able to pick the 10 o'clock on Tuesday time slot. You know, do we want to just go with that?
So this is another one of those things that if we're going to try to go back in person, I would highly recommend that we try to go to find a time slot that works on the hybrid schedule. That's the 2 o'clock time frame, because to have all of you guys here in the building, I guess we could meet someplace else. But to have all of you guys here in the building on a Tuesday morning when I've got multiple exercise classes and taxes and, you know, other things going on, I think we're going to have a hard time meeting here versus in a quiet building around 2 o'clock. So can I get a sense from the board whether you guys would prefer to meet at a different location, in which case I can certainly meet you, or whether you'd prefer to meet here at the senior center, but a little bit later?
Here would be fine, but if that's an impossibility because of your schedule, I was thinking about different places that we could meet in the hybrid form. What about the town hall up in the great room upstairs? And that's used for all kinds of things. Other gatherings, we could use that room. What about the library? Somebody said something that the library has room for meetings, and I've never been there for that reason. So that's two possibilities. My apartment isn't big enough. I wouldn't have room for all of you in my living room. You'd be sitting on the floor. Okay.
And again, I'm welcome to, you guys are welcome to meet here, but for
Yes.
all of the same reasons that I keep muting my microphone while we're having these meetings, will still be the case if we're meeting in person. And then if I'm needing to mute the mic, I'd be muting it on all of us in person. Does that make sense? So it would make it harder. No one would be able to hear.
Yeah.
Now, you know, I would, you know, we selected the 2 o'clock time frame, or maybe even the, but it's the buy board that meets at that time, that so we can't do the Zoom thing at 2 o'clock. Do you know anything? Does the buy board meet for more than an hour? Could we meet at 3 o'clock?
What is the buy board?
It's the selectmen, and is that the finance committee?
Oh,
It's-
maybe.
It's two of, or yeah, I think it's finance and
Does
selectmen.
Does
Select
Cindy
board,
know?
sorry. Yeah, I think she just hopped back on, so she might be able to answer that. Nonetheless, we
Sure.
fall lower in the pecking order than that board for sure.
I would be
so-
in favor of meeting at town hall. Not only is it kind of accessible and visible, but I think that meeting at the senior center, given its current location, further accentuates the exclusion of the senior center or the Council on Aging board from the kind of the general run of the town. That is, we go into the little place that we're tucked away in and do our, you know, so I think that being in town hall, you might just by happenstance pick up people who are walking by and they might say, hey, who's meeting in there? Or what are they talking about? Or, you know, I didn't know that board was meeting today, or, you know, whatever. I mean, and I think that meeting at town hall would kind of, in some small way, kind of integrate the senior center into the activities at town hall, even if it's only for an hour and a half once a month.
Yeah, and, you know, since we meet during the day, we can probably meet in the selectmen's meeting room,
Yeah,
which is really quite visible.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess we need to find out two things. We need to find out what are the Zoom requirements, and we need to find out when we can meet, and which depends on the Zoom.
Sorry, yeah.
So let's say we aim for, I don't know. I mean, if we're going to meet in town hall, we can sort of aim for, should we aim for again 10 o'clock on the second Tuesday?
That sounds good to me. Should we
Fine with
vote
me.
on it?
Okay.
That's fine with me. I'll have a
Yeah.
hard stop around 11 or 11:15 because Debbie will start to get, probably 11:15, because Debbie will start to get meals for delivery and need to go out. And I would need to get back to the center, but I think that is probably a manageable time frame.
Okay.
Could I just throw out one possibility for, what about that big room next door? On 10 o'clock on Tuesdays, I don't remember seeing anything in there. Could we
There's
possibly use that?
exercise.
Oh, there is
Going on
exercise?
in there. Yeah.
I thought it was Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. That was just a miss.
No, I've got exercise at 9, 10, and 11, pretty much every single day.
Oh, good.
I think that we're, we're in agreement as to, I hear a sense of agreement as to where to do it and when to do it. It just depends on whether the meeting room is available, whether Zoom is, so we're not setting, we cannot at this point set a hard time for our next meeting, but this is what we'll work on.
So, but I would suggest that it be held after the building committee meeting, which is currently scheduled for April 6th at 10 o'clock.
Okay.
So,
Okay, so we're aiming for the 12th, April 12th. Okay?
Yep.
And time to be determined. All right, anything else? Okay, do I have an adjournment motion?
I so move.
A second?
Carol? Aye. Say aye.
Aye.
Dennis?
Aye.
Janine?
Aye.
Sister Paula?
Aye.
Chair says aye. So we are officially adjourned at 11:37.